Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk Tristate with Tiny and Katie.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Tri-State, all powered by Home Right Windows and Doors in Waynesboro, the right choice winner in the 2024 Best of the Tri-State Awards. LocalNews1.org owner and operator, we have Dan Dodona here with us. Dan, why don't you tell us everything that we can look forward to this coming weekend?
This coming weekend, 5 things. First of all, Learn to Homestead. The Washington County Free Library is hosting the Hagerstown Homesteaders event. It's offering community members an opportunity to learn essential self-sufficiency skills. Little things like growing your own food from seed, harvesting, preservation methods, that sort of thing.
Which is really popular, I don't know if you've seen it, on YouTube. There's a lot, of course, you can find anything really on YouTube, but one of my favorite things to watch, coincidentally, are people who are doing homesteading. Mm-hmm. So they are the off-grid people. Now, I'm not off-grid, and I don't know that I ever will be, but the point is that they find this piece of land and they clear it, they show the whole process, and I find it absolutely fascinating because I love to build. So then when they get to the whole construction part of everything, I love the infrastructure that goes into it and the planning and then they eventually do the growing their food, the canning, it's amazing.
Well, it's good to be prepared like that. Although generally speaking, I generally hope that we don't have to actually get to the point where you actually have to do that.
Well, when prices get as bad as they have been, then maybe that's the have to do it.
Well, that's kind of the middle ground.
Yeah, right?
That'll be on Friday, today, starting from 2 to 3:30 p.m. and tomorrow, Saturday, January 18th, from 11 a.m. to 12:30. Located at the library's main branch at 100 South Potomac Street in Waynesboro. Second, over in Chambersburg, we have Barbara Randall hosting the Artsy Chaos Club at the Council for the Arts in Chambersburg. It's advertised as a vibrant and creative experience for children and teenagers. Saturday, January 18th, 10 a.m. to noon. At 103 North Main Street. They're encouraging participants to wear art messy appropriate clothing. Apparently there's going to be some material tossed about.
I remember when I was in school, you had to have an art t-shirt. So it was one of Dad's old t-shirts that's what you wore every time you did art class.
Absorb whatever was coming.
That's right.
Out. Yeah. And diving into history, the Shippensburg History Center is inviting visitors to explore. And this actually sounds interesting. The 18th and 19th century tavern entertainment on Saturday, January 18th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. What they're doing is these days maybe you go to a movie or maybe you go to some friend's place to play cards or a game or something like that. Well, they also in previous years, just as a matter of as when you got together at social gatherings, they would get together and they would play games. Mm-hmm. The games that they're going to offer here are Captain's Mistress, Shut the Box, the Royal Game of Goose, which I don't know, I have to think about that one.
Is that a fancy way of saying duck, duck, goose?
Something like that. And Skittles, before it was a candy.
Okay.
It's going to be located at 52 West King Street in Shippensburg, and it is free. So that should be very interesting. In Hagerstown, going a little bit more highbrow, Shakespeare's The Tempest is going to be presented at the Potomac Playmakers at the Performing Arts Center in Hagerstown. That'll be on 18th and the 19th, Saturday from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. and at 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. and Sunday at 3 p.m. $20 for adults, $15 for seniors, 65. Oh, I get a discount, 65 and older.
There you go.
There we go.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah. Well, and have you seen Shakespeare? Have you watched it?
I have, yes.
I have. There's a little language problem with the Middle English that it was all written in. But it is so clever and so well done, and obviously it's stood the test of time.
And the humor, if you can find it, I say find it, it's there, but if you can understand it and grasp it,
it's hilarious.
Very witty. Yeah.
It's hilarious, it really is. And finally, in Waynesboro, the Waynesboro Bluegrass Hootenanny will be on Sunday, January 19th from 2 until 4 p.m. at Music Makers.
When's the last time you were at a Hootenanny, Dan?
I'm not sure. Well, actually, we had an impromptu one at Monterey Pass Museum this past summer. A group called Franco Penn, led by Mr. Avery.
Okay.
A gaggle of bluegrass artists who just got together. The only thing they had in common, in particular, they all played with other groups. The only thing they had in common was they were all located in Franklin County.
Okay.
Hence Franco, Penn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and they were excellent.
Okay.
And during the couple hours that they played for Monterey Pass, there were a lot of people that just showed up, and there was one lady who brought her fiddle with her, and she ended up playing 2 of the 3 hours.
Wow, very good.
With them on stage, and they had other people come up and take over. Eric Avey went over and played different instruments while other people came up and played the guitar.
Well, that's a hootenanny I can get on board with there.
Yeah, well, that was a lot of fun. So I guess one.
There you go.
Unintentional, but an enormous amount of fun. Free admission, and let's see. People who have skills are obviously invited to bring instruments, and they'll be invited to participate. So that was the 5 things, the standard 5 things we do every week.
All right, and as we know, every single day here on 921 The GOAT and 921thegoat.com, 92.1 The GOAT, and here on Let's Talk Tri-State, we feature stories that have been curated and vetted by localnews1.org, and Dan is going to take us through some of the highlights and potentially lowlights, sadly, from this past week.
Unfortunately, well, good news. Hagerstown is starting up a Main Street Startup Grants program.
Yes, that's wonderful news.
$50,000 for new businesses. It wasn't exactly clear exactly how old a business you had to be or how young a business you had to be, but they're offering $50,000 to help cover office rent for the first 6 months.
Okay.
And also fixtures, furniture, things of that sort, plus marketing and advertising, which we've learned is extraordinary. In those first couple of months, the spike of expenses is way, way higher than the routine, steady flow of revenues.
And it's all about education. If people don't know you exist, they can't come to you.
That's true. In Greencastle, they have released their community event calendar for 2025. Greencastle has a lot of activities over there. Their sidewalk days are really a lot of fun. They have quite a few others. Anyway, that's been released. In Franklin County, you probably know there's a continuing discussion about alternate uses of land, whether it's farmland and especially with solar panels. One of the biggest concerns, as a former supervisor in Washington Township, one of our biggest concerns was always, okay, at the end of 20 years when these things are done and the property has probably been sold 2 or 3 times, who's going to take all this stuff and get rid of it so that you can return it to agricultural use or any other use that you might have in mind? We had the opportunity to do a rather thoughtful discussion that brought in actually some experiences from other states about how they dealt with that problem, including postulating that it's not simply a choice between farmland and solar panels. You can also use that same property for some agricultural products. Now you got to be careful about what you use, and it also depends upon how the design is set up. But it's a good discussion that covers many facets of what tends to get presented as an us versus them kind of a thing. It doesn't really have to be. You could check that out. In the 90th District for Pennsylvania, Chad Reichard was finally sworn in up in Harrisburg.
Feels like it took forever. I know it didn't, but it feels like it. I know they have the process they go through, you know.
Well, it feels like President Trump has been President Trump since November.
Right, yeah.
In a lot of ways. The guy is so hyperactive. It's pretty amazing. But the same way, it's actually going to be Monday. They're actually going to swear him in.
They are, yeah. And it's supposed to be, I think, record cold for an inauguration, I believe.
Record cold.
I believe so.
There have been some cold ones.
This is going to be one.
Okay. So anyway, that took place in Waynesboro. There was a 2-alarm fire in a duplex on Ridge Avenue. There were some burn injuries, and of course the property itself didn't make out so well. Yeah. In Chambersburg, New Franklin County Fire, continuing on the fire theme, New Franklin County Fire Department got a $6,000 equipment donation from Land O'Lakes.
Yes.
That was very cool because it's no longer a matter of just getting 8 or 10 of your biggest, strongest guys who push a wagon up hills and through valleys to get to fires. That equipment is extraordinarily expensive. The techniques are very advanced. The gear that the firefighters have to wear is also extraordinarily expensive.
And you think about it, and it is wonderful that they got the $6,000, but that is going to get eaten up very quickly, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's maybe 2 firefighters worth of equipment.
Yeah.
If that's what they spend out
there.
But
I'm so glad they have it, and big thanks to Land O'Lakes for that.
Well, and I would suggest to anybody that's watching that if you have an opportunity to donate,
yes.
Most of the fire departments out here in Franklin County and in Washington County are all volunteers. They don't get a lot of public funds. They get some, but mostly they have all those bingo games and raffles that they have. That's how they make enough money so that they're properly trained and equipped to be able to put out fires if they get set. So,
right, yeah.
In Hagerstown, the old farmers market down on 25 West Church Street has been saved. It was apparently scheduled to be demolished in about a year or two, but there were a group of people that got together and they started making improvements and repairs to the facility. It has now turned into Hub City Brewery, which is open 7 days a week from noon until 10 on Sundays and Thursdays, and until 11 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays.
Wow, okay.
It's astounding how many of these little breweries are popping up.
It is crazy. And they're very, and nothing wrong with this, but they're very incentivized to open. The states tend to kick in a good amount of money to help them do that.
We've actually got, one of our regular features has come to be a brewery review.
Okay.
Because each one of them has a schedule every week. And sometimes they have bands, sometimes they have special foods that they're offering, or sales, or discounts, or what have you. So
one of our favorite things to do is on Thursdays go to trivia at Michel Brewing Company.
Michel is good. Michel is good.
Now wait, my wife enjoys beer from time to time, which is usually Thursdays. I don't drink, but I just love to go for the trivia. The food is wonderful, and they are always busy, which is great. It's a very nice atmosphere.
Is your wife in a religious sect that requires drinking beer on Thursdays?
If she is, I haven't practiced that yet.
Okay, elsewhere. In Chambersburg, the Northern Pennsylvania Regional College and Wilson College have signed an agreement. This is pretty cool. Basically, folks who are graduating from NPRC in early childhood ed can transfer without losing any of their credit. They can transfer directly to Wilson College and continue their education. So that's a good deal.
Yeah.
43rd annual cancer auction in Waynesboro is going to be on the 5th of April at Green Grove Garden, as it has been for many, many years. They earned $120,000 last year.
Wow.
And that became part of $2.6 million that they have raised since 1982, and it's all used to help patients navigate different services as you're working your way through cancer treatment. My daughter has had cancer several times, and I can attest. It's knowing who to go to and understanding the sequence of events and simply being able to get to the appointments with your daughter or with your loved ones is tough if you don't know what you're doing.
And sometimes that is the difference maker.
Sometimes it is. And good support from the family, no matter what kind of illness you have, good support from the family is always very helpful. In addition, in Franklin County, it was announced that Franklin County had 2.9% unemployment for November of 24. And they've been below 3% for the last 19 consecutive months. Okay. So while it's intriguing that while you hear so many stories about unemployment being relatively high, it's good that Franklin County seems to have found something that's very attractive.
Well, we have all of the buildings up and down the 81 corridor here, the distribution centers. I mean, we are quite the hub. Just had Mike Ross in earlier in the week from Franklin County, the FCADC, and just talking about the plans that are in place and the employment opportunities. It's no wonder. I mean, Franklin County is within the top 10 most growth experienced in Pennsylvania of all counties. So it's quite amazing. What
Mike Ross is like the ever-ready bunny of
he's unbelievable.
Business development.
Love having that man. Yes.
So much energy. Quick who's who of things that are changing. Roxana Gapster, who is the I think that's how you pronounce it, who is the CEO of WellSpan, has been appointed chair of the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, or HAP is the acronym. They look at advocating sustainable health care. They're an advocacy group for both Harrisburg and for in Washington, D.C., for all the medical organizations in Pennsylvania. Joseph Ryan has been appointed Vice President of Finance and Administration at Wilson College. And I think that's a new face. I don't think he got hired inside. And Heather Markle, Markell, has been appointed the Chief Nursing Officer for Emeritus.
Yes.
So that's a big deal. Other things that are cropping up. Police stories. Guilford, there was an accident and a death, unfortunately, in Guilford Township. Jason Graham, age 36, was killed when his truck left a curve. He was going a little too fast for that, hit a tree. That was on a sad note.
Went to school with and grew up with my wife.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's very sad. Very sad.
In Chambersburg, the Pennsylvania State Police charged Jessica Fisher with felony endangerment and misdemeanor on drug charges with respect to care for a dependent person. Apparently, she was the person who was supposed to be there helping this person.
Yeah.
And she's they found out that she was smoking crack while she was on duty. While she was sitting there with the patient.
Unbelievable.
It makes you wonder. You're performing a service with respect to other people. How can you ever expect that such kind of behavior is not going to be noticed?
At some point, yes.
Yeah, at some point, you're really better off just not doing that. But people will do it anyway. Some people are just crazy. The Waynesboro Police Department is recruiting. Apparently, they have a vacancy for one officer, so that's coming up. So what else we got? Let me wrap it up this way. Okay. Regular features. Things that you can find every single week in local news 1. Of course, we cover a lot of sports. Mm-hmm. There are 7 different school districts in our coverage area, so we cover sports. We get the schedule on one day. We put out the standings and the results of games from the previous week, and we put it all online. There's a local history story every week. This last one was about a fairly unknown war correspondence museum and monument over in Maryland. Okay. We have a regular Health with Holly. Holly is just joined us. She's a registered holistic health coach. So she has it. She's still pounding away at the her latest title was if you're not doing something, then you're not doing something.
It's true, yeah.
Which I can attest to. I'm still carrying several.
Sounds very much like a Yogi Berra.
Yeah, but it fits.
Yeah.
We have dining reviews this week. They've been from Triggers in Waynesboro and from the Gear House over in Chambersburg. Sniff Notes comes from the Cumberland Valley Animal Shelter, who also usually provides us with pictures of pets, that dogs and cats and some other animals that they would like to put into good homes.
We love CVAS.
And Antietam Humane Society. They've got a kitten picture this week that is just...
Pickles.
Yeah, Pickles. Mm-hmm. Beautiful Little cat. I already mentioned we have a brewery lineup, or roundup every week, because there are so many of them.
Yeah, there are.
We figured, well, let's just put them all together and people can make a choice where their favorites are, or even try new ones.
Well, it feels like you're always either hearing about a new one or hearing about one that moved, or they added a location at locations you may not have even known existed. So you're hard pressed to find a municipality in our area that does not have a brewery that you haven't been to yet. Mm-hmm. And they really should all band together and make some type of stamp thing so that you know you got them all. But then by the time you get through, there's going to be a whole other book ready to go of all the breweries. Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Indeed.
We're going to wrap up here with localnews1.org. Dan Dodona, he takes great care of us every single week. And throughout the week, the stories that you hear covered in the news segments on Let's Talk Tri-State 92.1 The Goat, as well as our sister stations WAYZ and 101.5 Bob Rocks. All of those news stories are curated and provided to us by Dan and the wonderful staff at localnews1.org. So, Dan, we will talk to you in a week, okay?
Thank you, sir. Good
All
to
right.
see you again.
Absolutely. More Let's Talk Tri-State coming your way in just a few minutes, all powered by Virtus Men's Health in Hagerstown. Telehealth available. Find them online at virtusmenshealth.com.
Let's talk Tri-State.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Tri-State, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com.
I'm Nick Seco from Home Right Windows and Doors, and we're located in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. So we do vinyl replacement windows, we do steel and fiberglass entry doors, we do aluminum storm doors, and we do sliding patio doors, all made by Provia. The windows are a vinyl replacement window, and it could be anything from double hungs to casements to bay and bow windows and everything in between. So when somebody calls in the office and needs an estimate, they get Roxanne on the phone typically, and she would schedule an appointment for me to come out and take some measurements, provide some literature, go through what options we have, and then I would follow up within about 24 to 48 hours with an estimate with all the details of the products as well as the installed price. I find that we're typically much more affordable than the companies that you see advertising on TV or in a lot of other places. If they're spending a lot of advertising dollars, obviously they're passing those costs on to their consumers. You could go to our website at homerightwaynesboro.com, or you could call us at 717-749-4874.
Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk Tri-State with Tiny and Katie.
Let's talk Tri-State.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Tri-State, all powered by Home Right Windows and Doors in Waynesboro, the right choice, winner of the 2024 Best of the Tri-State. Our next guest today, we have Brittany Wed, who is the Director of Children in Need in Washington County.
Yep.
Thank you so much for spending some time and telling everybody about Children in Need. I think this is one of those organizations that everybody's heard of, but maybe isn't 100% sure of what exactly you do. So I'm going to let you start off by just laying the groundwork. What is it that you guys do?
Yeah, of course, and thank you for having me on today. So I'm the Executive Director of Children in Need. We are a nonprofit agency that is actually currently in its 26th year of operation.
Wow.
So we've had the privilege of being able to provide free essential items to children living in Washington County. So we provide free clothing, hygiene items, school supplies, shoes, coats, and a lot of those essential items that they need to be able to stay in school. A lot of our kids don't necessarily have access to some of those items. 96% of our clients live in poverty. The other 4% are living in Alice households, or households that are considered the working poor.
Parents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're just like one emergency away. So we want to really support those families as well. So we currently have 2,315 kids in our client services program.
Just in Washington County.
Yeah, just in our program.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then we serve an additional 1,000 kids through a secondary program we have where schools can request items for us, for their kiddos, and other agencies as well. So
Where do you house all of the items that you have? Do you have an actual home base?
yes, so we are very fortunate. The county of Washington County government allows us to kind of be in their space in the MLK building in Hagerstown. So we work out of the basement, and we are definitely maximizing every inch of that space. So we are there each day of the week accepting donations from the community, like clothing donations, and then we do all of our client days there.
How do you partner with schools? Would a teacher reach out to you and say, I have a student I'm concerned about, and you would bring like a bag of supplies to them? How does that work?
Yeah, so we've worked with every single school in Washington County. So essentially we will have like their pupil personnel workers or their guidance counselors or principals or teachers. They'll reach out to us with an identified need. So a lot of the times it's hygiene items. Sometimes it's like underwear. And especially after COVID, a lot of the kids, they were having accidents in school. So we would bring those over to the schools. And then, we just come out and deliver those items. Sometimes they'll come and get items from us. We also have the homeless coordinator of WCPS. She comes out. She has a key fob to our center, so she can access the center 24/7 to get whatever she needs.
Oh, very nice. Now, what are the ages that you service?
Yeah, this is my favorite question because when we think children in need, we think like children.
Young,
yeah.
yes.
So we are privileged to be able to provide items to babies, birth all the way up to age 18. We have a lot of teenagers in our program. And then additionally, what we do is if a child graduates from the local community high schools, if they decide to go to like HCC or USMH or a trade school in Washington County and they're still living at home, we'll continue to support them through age 21.
I do love that you took time to explain that because I do think our minds go to children and we think of hats, scarves, gloves, those things that they need, especially in the cold winter months. But I mean, when you're going through adolescence and teenagers, I mean, you're thinking about deodorant and shaving and you know, feminine products. I don't know if that's something you guys provide as well. But they can be horribly expensive.
They are.
And B, maybe forgotten about for some people. So I'm glad that that's something that you guys are also keeping top of mind and awareness about. Yeah,
so we provide all hygiene items. So we do the feminine hygiene products, deodorant. We provide shampoo, body wash, and toothpaste. We do toothbrushes. We also provide lice kits to the school because that's also another thing.
Didn't even think about that.
And I know firsthand because I went through this program as a kid when I was in foster care, so I know the impact that it has and how it really allows the kids to stay in school and not feel embarrassed or ashamed. So
you were also a recipient of the Children in Need in Washington County when you were a kid.
Yeah.
What a full circle
I know, it's wonderful.
Story. Do you want to tell a little bit about your story and how you ended up getting in, like, being the executive director of Children in Need?
Yeah, so I went through, I'm kind of like your typical, like when you think of like trauma, I'm like that child, right? The poster child for it. So I went through foster care. I was the child that didn't have clothing that was appropriate for school. I was the child that didn't have access to hygiene products. So Children in Need was there to provide items through the school, so it was through their extended service program. But my heart has always been in the community for nonprofit work. So I started out at a children's museum where I was the executive director, and then when Ann Martin, who was my predecessor, when she retired and the position opened up, I was like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. So I applied, and it's the best thing that has ever happened to me, truthfully.
How long have you been with Children in Need?
2 years. I just celebrated my second year, January 1st, actually. So.
Wow, and that's wonderful. That's really quite a full circle moment for sure. Where do you get your donations? Is it all community based? And okay, do you have any kind of grants that you're able to use?
Yes.
Okay.
So we get a lot of donations from the community. We're very fortunate to have clothing donations regularly, a lot of hygiene items donated. A lot of individuals and businesses will do it. We have donation bins around Washington County at Children in Need, the hospital, Sandmar, and then the landfill, so people can drop off donations that way. But then we write grants to supplement anything that we don't get. So we see a big need for boys' pants always, because when we get used boys' pants, they typically sometimes will have like holes in the knees or are threadbare. And we want to make sure the kids have clothing that is appropriate for school and will last a long time. So we'll purchase items that are like we have deficits of. And then because we provide new underwear and socks, we purchase those as well.
Will you accept any gently used items?
Or yeah.
Okay.
So last year we distributed 197,000 items. So a lot of that was donated clothing from the community.
I just want to wrap my mind around that number.
Yes.
So that's very close to 200,000 items, and that is including everything, hygiene, clothing.
Just in our one program.
And that was just last year.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does that seem like a high number?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, we've definitely seen, I mean, we're all feeling the increased cost of utilities and housing and just at the supermarket. So we're definitely seeing an increase in community need. So I know it's jumped like 40,000 items just in our client services program in the last year. We had over 3,000 kids enrolled in our program at one point last year. So we have a very dedicated team of volunteers that come in every day and do the hard work that we do. So,
how does one find out if they're eligible for your services?
Yeah, so we they have to be Washington County residents. That's like our biggest thing. But if they're in need, they just come in and enroll in the program. We do track every now and then like economic data for grant purposes, and that's how we know that 96% of our families are in the poverty level. But it's typically people that really need the support. And these are hardworking, amazing people, very resilient. So it's an honor really to serve them.
I think it's great. I was an elementary school teacher for almost 10 years.
Oh, yeah?
And actually, I did my student teaching in Washington County.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I remember hearing about children in need. And those years are so important to those children.
Yes.
And they want to be like their friends, and they want to dress like their friends, and they want to be included. And so something as small as just deodorant or a pair of pants that don't have holes in it really goes a long way to help those kids feel included and not that they're standing out in any way.
Right. And then what we're also and that's awesome, and I appreciate the work that our schools do and the teachers, and it's great that you have that background as well. But like what we're seeing too is like a lot of grandparents that are getting custody of their grandkids, so they need the additional support because they're obviously on a very limited income,
and many of them might not even drive. They can't even go and pick up the items and might not even know what to get. It's been so long maybe since they've had a child at their home, they don't exactly know what to get.
Right.
Or do you have any upcoming events or drives that you do that you could tell us about a little bit?
Yeah, so actually you're going to be the first one to know this.
Oh, great.
So, yeah, thank you. It's an exclusive.
I love that.
So we have been very fortunate to have had this amazing partnership with Julie Gaver, who is this phenomenal philanthropist in Frederick County. And she has held these shoe collection events over the years, and 14 years in total, and she retired this past year. But we do this huge brand new shoe distribution event in the fall, just around school time. So kids have brand new pairs of shoes for school. So we're going to actually be taking over that event. So that's coming up this fall. So we'll be working with the community to collect brand new shoes to distribute at our shoe distribution event for our clients and the public. It's called 1 Foot Up because we're lifting up.
Oh, I like that.
So yeah, that will be our annual fundraiser event over the years. So.
I can imagine that getting brand new shoes is difficult.
Oh my gosh, and it's so expensive.
It is expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, even the cheap ones. If you go to, let's say a Walmart or Target, they're still like $20-25 just for a new pair of shoes. That's expensive.
Yeah, it's really wild to me that kids, their clothing are so expensive when they're obviously they're smaller than us. So how are their clothing so expensive? But yeah, we're really looking forward to that, though.
It's funny because I wear the same thing for years and years and years in a row. Like these shoes, I've had these for at least 10 years.
Oh, that's awesome though. That's really cool. That's good. That's a good pair of shoes.
It is a good pair of shoes. And so, I mean, I guess if you can buy an expensive pair, they'll last you a really long time. But kids grow so
They grow so fast.
They're constantly going through stuff.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to keep up with them.
Yeah.
So outside of, I know you mentioned boys' pants.
Yes.
What are some other in-demand items that you guys are always looking for?
It is always hygiene because we distribute so much. So like full-size body deodorants because kids they're starting to need deodorant sooner at younger ages. And then what we're seeing too is that we have kids starting their menstrual cycles as young as 8.
Fourth grade?
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
So
I've heard. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I taught my last year teaching. I was a 4th grade teacher.
Oh wow, okay.
And there were a couple girls in my class, and I thought, wow, this is sooner than I was expecting. But I guess times are just changing.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind. So feminine products and deodorant.
Yeah.
And
toothpaste, and then full-size body wash and shampoo, and I already said toothpaste. Toothbrushes. We definitely need toothbrushes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can easily get those in bulk at Costco, and you only need like 1 or 2 for yourself, and then you can just donate the rest. Where are some of your donation bins? I know you touched upon a few places.
So Meredith's in the cancer department, like in the edge of their parking lot, we have a blue donation bin. It's clearly labeled children in need, so you won't miss that out. And then Sandmar and Boonesboro, they graciously allow us to post 2 donation bins there. And then the landfill in Clear Spring on 40, and then we have them outside of our building on 131 West North Avenue in Hagerstown. And we have, I will say, just a shameless plug, we have these 2 amazing volunteers, Mark and Mike, who are these wonderful men.
Do you call them M&M?
I should. I'm going to now.
That popped in my head.
I'm going to now, but they go out every single week and they pick up all these donations for us in these bins, and they're amazing.
Does everybody that works there on a volunteer basis?
Yeah, so we actually have 3 employees now, which is like the first ever. We have an amazing team. Our Director of Client and Volunteer Services, Joan Balbuena Hernandez, she works with our clients and coordinates all of our volunteers. And we have this awesome warehouse coordinator who helps supervise all the clothing processing and volunteers in our warehouse, Lori. They do a great job, but we have hundreds of volunteers. So last year, I think we had 10,000 hours of volunteer time.
Whew.
Yeah, and the value of a volunteer hour is $31. So you can imagine how amazing their impact is.
That's wonderful. And I'm sure you had the same volunteers kind of coming back over and over again.
They're awesome.
Now, are there any services that you guys provide that we didn't already talk about?
So we will often bring in community agencies to provide those wraparound services. So we partner with like the Washington County Health Department. They'll come in, they'll distribute free like packets of information and harm reduction services. And then we also have Meritus will come in and do basic enrollment for Meritus's programs, health programs. But we also, one of my favorite things that we've accomplished this past year is that we launched our scholarship fund. So it's named after our founder, Art Richards, and graduating seniors that are in our program can apply if they're going to go to a trade school or a secondary education. So that is launching this year. For the first time ever.
Amazing. And tell me the name of the scholarship again.
The Art Richards Scholarship Fund of Children in Need, and it's at the Community Foundation in Washington County. They manage it. It's going to be difficult to narrow that down to one. It's just one recipient. Yeah. Well, we're doing two this year.
Okay.
But our goal is to expand it a
Very
little
good.
bit.
Is there anything about children in need that you want to make sure that we discuss before we wrap up in our final minutes here that we didn't already cover?
Well, if any of your listeners or viewers are Washington County families that need support, we are there to help them. We are a very safe environment. There is no stigma when you come to get services through us, and we would just love to be able to assist them with their needs.
And you've been in these shoes, like you know exactly the feeling and can really empathize with those people. So that's wonderful. And if somebody was thinking, oh, you know what, maybe I have a little time to volunteer or I have some extra donations. Website, phone number, how do people find you?
So they can go to our website, which is a mouthful. It's childreninneedwc.org, but if you just type it into Google, we are the Hagerstown office, not the BBC UK one, because they have a Children in Need in England.
Two very different.
Gotta note that, yes. And then they can go to our website. Our phone number is 301-302-1683, and Joan is the one that coordinates all of our volunteer work.
Are there other children in need in other counties, or is this specific to Washington County?
Yeah, this is specific to Washington County. We have had agencies or individuals reach out to us because they want to replicate it, like in West Virginia, because the need is everywhere, obviously.
100%.
But yeah, we're always there to support if anybody wants to start it up in their own communities outside Washington County. Yeah, we would be glad to kind of point them in the right direction.
Great. Well, Brittany, thank you so much for sharing your story and telling us about children in need. And hopefully when you get closer to the shoe drive, maybe we can have you back and talk more about it, elaborate on it. That would be great. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate being here today.
Yeah, of course. We'll be right back with Let's Talk Tri-State.
Let's talk Tri-State.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Tri-State, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com.